Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury.
Electrifying.
Yes, guys, and welcome back to the Cannon Podcast. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you are all good. We are back with another rewatch. We rewatched the second half of the Sunderland game, in which we went into it rather optimistic and feeling positive, and we've came out of it feeling positive, despite what unfortunately transpired towards the death of the game, and to further compound that, the miss we had at the end of Calafiori and the save off the line from Mikel Marina. But like we always say, guys, if you want to see these rewatches, you can do so by accessing the 7-day free trial within the link below in the description. You've got rewatches to the Man City games, Newcastle games, Olympiacos, Slavia Prague. We've done many games, me and James now. So if you wanted to see that sort of content and you're interested, do get involved. So yeah, feeling optimistic, feeling, positive. You, James?
Yeah, for those who watch the rewatch or have tuned into any other content I've done since the game, apologies for repeating myself. I genuinely feel fine. I feel better. I feel good. I think when Arsenal have struggled before, people think bad result equals bad mood for the fans. And I think where I'm going to give the Arsenal fan base as a whole credit is I think we all saw a team that had a real go against Sunderland, were knackered, yet turned things around in the second half, turned the result around, with definitely value for a third or fourth goal in that game. It didn't come, and they lost to another ball in the box they couldn't defend. Is that a problem we have? No, because we've just had 8 clean sheets in a row. So it's not a problem we have. It just can happen. Funnily enough, the goal we conceded before that was also a cross into the box. So maybe there's that. Well, that's actually interesting. Last year, we actually had quite a poor record from conceding goals from set pieces. So maybe there's an element in which, as much as we're great attacking set pieces, we might actually not be great at defending crosses into our box. That can be explored another time. But anyway, all that to say that, I think the Arsenal fan base in general gave the reaction I would have wanted to have seen from us as a collective fan base, which was, all right, it happens. It's annoying. We're frustrated, but we get it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think for me, when I look at games in which we've been a goal behind going into half time, I think that was one of our best responses under Mikel.
Totally
I'm
agree.
thinking of previous games over the years, Aston Villa at Villa Park, the famous Jorginho long-range strike, Bournemouth in the very eye-catching one with the Reece Nelson winner. You mentioned Wolves, that was in 21-22, the Lacazette winner. Newcastle this season. Liverpool last season as well at Anfield. I thought our second half response was brilliant. I put this very much in that camp. Unfortunately, it's just a case of, because of how it transpired at the end with the goal that we conceded, it leaves a feeling of disappointment and frustration in that aspect, but not in terms of the performance. And speaking of the performance, what we did look at were a few things that we noticed in the second half. I'll kind of start off with the left-hand side, which I felt was really important to discuss. I will share my screen now. What you can see here, I think one of the big differences between the first and second half was the fact that we were a lot better in the duels, first and second and third balls, and that allowed us to pin Sunderland in. And when we pinned them in, it was their back five, their 4 in midfield, and their 1 up top. Now, we had moments in the first half where we did this and we were able to sustain some pressure, but I didn't feel our chance creation was of the best. That's why people didn't feel that first half was promising at all. I didn't feel, and many others didn't feel like there was a lot of problems that we caused them in that first half.
Yeah.
And I felt one of the things that was happening in the first half, and it's something that does happen under Mikel in terms of the final third, in which we have a lot of players pinning. So you can see their back five here. Calafiori was playing this role on the inside channel, which he does regularly now for us with Trossard, and he was occupying Mukiele. And then with Ballard, and then with the other centre-back, we've got players pinning with Saka there ready to attack the far post. Now, on paper, that looks like a really attacking shape, and it looks good because we're getting players forward. But actually, I felt this was a hindrance to us because we've got players pinning, which meant that the opposition defenders there, they've already got players that they know who they're tasked to mark. And sometimes it was a Bemendi hire, and Eze a little bit deep, etc. But ultimately, we pinned their back line. But what that meant is we had to keep circulating the ball out wide to Saliba, then move it to the right-hand side, and vice versa, because it's really static. We've got players high up already there. Now, for me, what happened in the second half is we left this space in between the wide centre-back Mukiele and Ballard free. So Calafiori was still taking up that position to pin Mukiele, and then what he would do is he'd move into really smart position that would drag Mukiele away, and that meant that this space in front of Ballard was ready to be attacked. And we saw Zubimendi do that at times, in which Trossard plays that ball inside. We saw Timber do it as well, and we also saw at times of Calafiori making that run where Eze was actually here. But the point that I wanted to stress, and Saka made that run with that shot that just came across the face of goal. So there was less pinning for me, in which there were still certain players pinning, which we saw with Calafiori, because you do need to occupy certain players and to drag them out. But there was space for players to arrive more dynamically, as opposed to players already being there, ready for a cross to come in, which I felt became a little bit predictable in the first half. And there's a comp on X from Kimo AFC, in which you'll be able to see this more in practice with the full clips. But yeah, I feel like you had something else to discuss there, didn't you, in terms of the right-hand side?
Well, on that, in terms of what you said and the analysis that Kimo did, Calafiori, he wasn't the only one, but the runs made by Calafiori were causing so many problems for fullback and centre-back, because when you're in a back five, the wing-back / fullback can go and press more comfortably, knowing that they've got like a barrage of cover behind them.
Yes,
because either the right centre back's coming across, the centre mid's dropping in. There's so much more comfort. Weirdly, and when I'm talking pressing in your defensive third, pressing high up the pitch, you can get really exposed and wide open because you've got less in midfield. But in the defensive third, it's really easy. Well, it's easier because the defenders are covering shorter distances to get across and cover. It's probably why I've always felt Granit Xhaka is so suited to a 3-4-3 formation at Sunderland, and why he was at Leverkusen too. There's a lot around him, so he's covering shorter distances with a bit more confidence because there's more around him. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of goes against my point about pressing in the attacking third, because Alonso's team did press, but that's not the point. Anyway, so Calafiori did a really good job there to basically keep them guessing, keep them moving, keep them following and tracking. I wanted to talk about Timber, because with Timber, I think it was less about his movement and purely about where he was standing. I know that sounds so stupid, but Calafiori, I felt, moved constantly in a way that defenders were like, where do we go? Whereas I think Timber was better at getting in the lines that freed up Saka a little bit, or offered a little bit more like direct support. So Calafiori and Timber, I don't feel actually combined. Sorry, start again. Calafiori and Trossard, I don't actually feel combined that much in the game. They tried to. I don't actually think they really found each other that often. But Timber and Saka, I felt, looked more like doing that, and did do that a few times. But it didn't happen until after the first goal. There's a moment in the first half where Zubimendi wants to pass the ball forward, but ends up turning back and give it to Saliba, and you see him raise his hands, going like, where is everyone? And that's because I think Timber wasn't quite sure where to be. Originally, he'd been in build-up. He tried to go forward, didn't really work. But then him and Saka kind of found their rhythm, and they started to pop up in alternating areas. And I think that gave Sunderland a lot more problems. And I think both the right and the left channel became so much more effective in that second half, because the fullbacks were having way more joy in what they were trying to do in just slightly different ways, if that makes any sense at all.
No, it makes complete sense. And I think it kind of goes back to the most salient aspect of the fullbacks in general, of the dynamism, the chaos that they are causing this season. You know, I think like Timber and Calafiori both have had really good seasons, especially Timber. I do think Calafiori, like, it's interesting because we both kind of came to the same conclusion, where I didn't think Calafiori had a good game on the ball. I didn't think Calafiori had a good game defensively without the ball, but I think his movement and what he's doing in the final third, I think our left-hand side has seen significant improvements to last season and the season before. I think only 22-23 so far, I'd say our left-hand side has been better, although the sample size is quite small still, which is interesting. And I think this is, you know, there's a lot of positives to take, and I think that for me is a massive one. And yeah, like, I think just to close it off now and to look at like the bigger picture, I think obviously, with Man City winning and the way that they won a 3-0 scoreline, kind of like many thinking that's Liverpool buried now from a title race perspective. And again, I think it's also because we've been in 2 previous title races with Man City and who Pep is. For me, Pep's the greatest I've ever seen. I've not seen any. I've not learned more from any other manager more than Pep personally. So there's that apprehension, right? But I think we're in a really good place, and that's kind of where we both feel, don't we? Especially after rewatching that second half with the players that had to come back as well, So,
and this is the thing, right? So I summed up this. I was on Delu Laguna's channel, and I said to him, "Okay, let's go all the way back, and it's not that far. Let's go back to Eddie Nketiah's winner against Liverpool in that 96th minute, right?
Yeah.
So that caused elation in the Arsenal fan base because we realised we had the chance to not leapfrog Liverpool, to close the gap to 2 points if we did the small task of beating Newcastle at St James's Park. Like, that was the mountain ahead of us, but we saw an opportunity. We were excited about it. We do that. We then beat West Ham, knowing that they go to Stamford Bridge, thinking, again, they'll probably win this, but you never know. Something might happen. Chelsea win that again in the 95th or whatever it is minute, okay?
Yeah.
So we're a point ahead of them going into that last international break. That was the context as we're kind of just coming to the end of that run of games and into that international break. We were 3 points ahead of City at that time. We now go into this international break 8 points ahead of Liverpool, not 1, 8 points ahead of them with a 4-point lead on City. So our body of work from international break to international break has gone from a 1-point lead at the top to a 4-point lead, a 1-point lead against Liverpool to an 8-point lead, and a 3-point lead against Man City to a 4-point lead. I just think that is nothing but great work. Yeah. Of course it could be more, but okay, we were slightly short of that. Yeah. I think it's a great body of work. And all of that without Kai Havertz, Gabby Jesus, Martin Odegaard, Noni Madueke, Gabriel Martinez for most of it, Victor Gyökeres for one of the games. I think it's a really, really good position because losing Gyökeres, Havertz and Jesus doesn't weaken us up front only. It weakens us in midfield. So we're not able to take Rice or Zubimendi off and see the game out with Marino, who's coming on fresh, good in the duel, good in the air, because he's been running like a dog up front. So it weakens other areas. We don't get control of that first half quickly enough because we don't have Odegaard, who's probably our best tempo setter. Okay, we've got Zubimendi now, but Odegaard's got a body of work doing that. So I just feel really, really positive. And I might be wrong. I might, this might be the start of a run for Arsenal that proves tricky. I hope not. But I'm really confident that we're a team primed to win things. And I just think what we've done this season, and I include the second half against Sunderland, is evidence that we can definitely go and do it.
Yeah, I actually do think that the general feeling amongst Arsenal fans right now is rather positive as well, from what I read and see. And I think football fans, you're going to have your differences over Mikel in or out or whatnot. But I think 80% of football fans, you don't need to be able to see the game through a specific lens. You can see a good performance without being tactical, right? And I think what I read and what I saw from the opinions of Arsenal fans is one of optimism, one of hope, one of thinking we're not even near our peak and we perform like that, in the context of the injuries as well. And to kind of if you're feeling, and I still feel it, the gut wrench of that late equaliser, right? But let's look at some of the games that we had this season, and we discussed it in the video where Man United in the first game of the season, right? I've felt, and I said it immediately after that game, I rewatched that game, I felt we scammed a win. I didn't think we deserved to win that game, but we found a way. And that's something title challengers need to do. If you want to win the title, you have to be able to win in scenarios in which you're not at your best. We did that there. But you can certainly point towards an element of fortune there. Liverpool was unlucky at Anfield. I'll maintain that. I think there was nothing in between the two teams. The Man City game, if we just look at the game in isolation, it was approaching a dead end, that second half. I didn't see a goal happening at all. And then what
No,
happens?
we weren't knocking on the door, were we?
Exactly. It wasn't like sustained pressure after pressure. It felt like a team that didn't have answers. And then pops up Eze with a beautiful ball over the top, and then Martinelli with an incredible finish. Then you look at Newcastle. We deserve to beat Newcastle. It's the best performance we've had at St. James's Park under Mikel. But the goal does happen in added time. And then obviously the Sunderland game, I feel we were quite unlucky. I maintain that. But then when you look at all those games together, in which if you're just isolating Sunderland, if you're thinking, Raya's cost us here, Raya saved us in Man United.
Yeah, it's true.
So it works both ways. For me, this game was very much variance in full flow. The way the goal happened, one, it's a goal that's uncharacteristic under Mikel Arteta team in terms of Gabriel there and how he lost that situation. Two, the type of finish that the player tries. And three, it hits Gabriel's head. So it's football. It happens. It just happens. And that's where I feel it. So, yeah.
Totally agree, man. I think we're all feeling positive ultimately.
No,
and it's good. And I think it's good for the wider feeling around the club that the fans can see a disappointing result that's come about in quite a gut-wrenching way. Like if I'm a player, I'm feeling... I don't know if they tune into what fans are saying online or not. But if I'm a player, I'm feeling like lifted by the reaction that I've largely seen from fans in the footballing world of it happens, not this barrage of pressure and critique and whatever. Okay. It's like okay. And that's in the wake of City winning as well, in the way they did. I think the Arsenal players should keep their heads because I still think we're the best team in the league.
I agree. And it's going to be interesting come after the international break. Difficult games, but listen, with players coming back, I'm still very optimistic. And it was a really optimistic rewatch, a confident rewatch in terms of what Arsenal are going to be able to do. And like you said, if you want to be able to access those rewatches, you can do so by becoming a Patreon or YouTube member, a 7-day free trial. Just access that link below. Thank you, James.
Mate, thank you so much. Always a pleasure. Go check it out, guys. And we'll be back. I don't know if we're doing an international break one. Maybe next week. If not, definitely the week after.
Yeah, for sure. We'll think of something there. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Please like, share, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff. And last but not least, thanks for keeping it Arsenal.
Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. This was one kind of queue the ladies thoroughly enjoyed.
Electrifying. Inspiration.